You're listening to a Soul One podcast.
Welcome back isn't appropriate because people have been listening to us every week. But for you and I, Taylor, welcome back because we haven't recorded and heard from each other for about a month. So we're back.
A little summer vacay, but not really because we both continued to work. But a summer vacay from recording.
Yeah, and then I accidentally aired a couple episodes out of order and got some flack for it. Of people like, this doesn't make sense. You're talking about things that haven't happened yet. And it's like, ooh, I did air these in an order that I shouldn't have because it was very confusing. I think what ended up happening was one of the episodes that we recorded last, I ended up putting first because I just happened to have watched a movie so recently. So I moved the order being like, oh, I really want this to come out. Like, I think it was Toy Story or something where I'm like, oh, I really want this to come out early. And I want to do that, like something like that.
We said something that dated it in the episode.
Very much dated it. that we hadn't brought up yet. Or you said something like, yeah, like we said last week, which we didn't. And we have some fans out there who are like pretty, they go through that transcript, Taylor. Like they're pretty
good,
much
they're good listeners. But probably what we did, Mike, was you probably said on the episode, this is our last pre-recording until we're on vacation. And so people were like, what? Like we must have mentioned something about our break.
Yeah.
Played that first.
Yeah, and that might have been exactly something like that might have happened where it was just like very much off. Not the right thing that we should have done. But anyway, we're back to more consistent episodes where we're here in time and space. So yes. You're not gonna be as confused. And we do have some movies to talk about that we saw in the summer. We do have some kind of summer catch up to do. But Taylor, you were just telling me something really interesting about your time away.
Yeah. So I was fully committed. So I'll back up a little bit. We get summer hours at our place of employment, which I'm very grateful for. And so I thought between my summer hours, not having to record and then going away for a week to a cottage, I thought, perfect. I'm going to bag so many movies, Mike, that we're going to be able to bang out double episodes one after another. Maybe we'll take a whole other, we'll take October all off. We would never take October off, note, because that's our Halloween
month. That's our busiest month. That is our busiest month. I can't even believe that came out of your mouth.
Yeah,
that's our busiest month.
It's more like December we would take off. But
That's right. Usually we do take off sometime in December, but October is a busy month.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why I said that. But anyways, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm going to get so many movies done. Mike, I did not watch any movies on my hiatus, which is a little bit of a lie because I obviously watched enough to come back and record these episodes with you. But I every opportunity I took to nap, I napped. I listened to a lot of my paranormal ghost podcast and just like really vegged out. And you know what? It was nice. And then when I came back this weekend to watch a couple movies in order to review, I realized I didn't miss anything in July. It was fine. It was fine that I took that month off because there's nothing to watch. He-Man, Master of the Universe is it. And I didn't watch that.
Yeah, and it's interesting because even prior to going on our hiatus, but only a couple episodes ago to people listening, and I know this episode is aired, so I can say this, we did talk about your disinterest in some of the summer movies this year, including some of the big ones like The Odyssey, for example. And Spider-Man and those kinds of things where you're like they're not up your alley. So yeah, the summer, I think this year it made a little more sense that you would be able to disconnect, not really hear anything. Now there is one movie, Taylor, that did come out that I'm a little surprised to see you didn't make it out to, or that you're not curious about. And it's an Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde movie that looks like a sort of odd. It looks like something we would cover during one of our like
award episode.
Yeah, like the invite. That's what it's called.
Yeah.
Because I saw a couple previews of that, and I'm like, I bet you Taylor would be interested in this, like curious. I don't know if you'd like it, but I was like, this seems like something you might see.
It piqued my interest enough that I read the plot, Mike.
Right.
And I said, oh no. No interest. It's not, I don't think this is a spoiler, but people can pause and like skip a minute.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this plot. So I don't know, like, I don't even know if it was in the trailer.
I don't think it's this much. I don't think it's a spoiler.
Okay, well, spoiler alert, just in case.
Yes, just in case. It's so Seth Rogen and Olivia Wilde are a couple, and then help me out, Mike.
Selma
Hayek.
Yeah, Selma Hayek and Edward Norton.
Edward Norton are the other couple, and Olivia Wilde's character. The Olivia and Seth Rogen's characters, their marriage is kind of on the brink, and so they invite their neighbors over, hoping to like swap, essentially. You know what I mean? Like kind of, and so I'm like, I read that and I was like, I don't know, I'm not really. And then like other things happen in the movie, and it just sounds like, you know, miserable people trying to spice up their relationship, and I'm like, I'm not interested.
did not hear about any of this.
Yeah, does that make more sense? You're right in the sense, like, on paper it's like a, you know, it's a smaller scale movie, two interesting couples, they're all fairly interesting actors, you know, kind of a one room there, it happens over the course of a dinner party. You're right, on paper it sounds like a pretty good Taylor movie, enough that I was like, and then just like reading, everyone's like, it's the funniest movie of the year. I'm like, hard pass. That does not sound funny at all.
Yeah, I didn't know that was an aspect of it. I knew something weird was going on. Something was definitely happening, but the trailer kind of alluded to what you're saying. Like there's some sort of something like that going on, but it wasn't 100% clear. But it's interesting that people are saying it's funny. I thought the way the trailer was building it was that it was more of a thriller, like maybe a psychological drama, more so than a comedy. So that's interesting. That changes my perspective.
People are saying it's so funny, but also like very cringy. And I actually don't love, as much as I love I Think You Should Leave Now, cringe comedy isn't like, right. You know what I mean? Like where like it's just like the humor is from like the awkward human interactions, like the Zane factor.
Because you think, because I Think You Should Leave is more zany. The awkwardness comes from there's always one character who's acting absolutely off the wall crazy, and that's what brings the comedy, because it's played as if it's normal and everyone's kind of reacting to it. And sometimes they're like in on the joke where they're reacting and you're the one on the outside of it. And sometimes there's a character being like, no, this is silly. Like, this is weird. And that's where the humor comes from. So yeah, it is a bit different, definitely.
I don't know. I don't know if Olivia Wilde directed this one.
Yeah, she did. Yeah. It's another one of her directorial.
I didn't watch that other one that you watched, Mike, that I, again, on paper, looked like a movie that I was going to love, and then all the reviews were really bad, and I read the plot synopsis for that one, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I passed that one. Don't Worry, Darling.
Yes, Don't Worry, Darling, which was not good.
Yeah.
Which was not good. Like, frankly, Don't Worry, Darling was not a good movie. So I get, the hesitation there. Because
I don't know what her directing has been considered with this movie. I just thought plot-wise, it doesn't sound very interesting to me. I do want to bring up a headline to you, Mike.
Okay.
About Olivia Wilde. And, it might just me being the resident prude. I don't know. But I would like your hot take. So, and I only read a couple headlines. I didn't read the whole article. So I may be taking this headline out of context. So forgive me if I am, listeners who have read more about this. I read this maybe about like a year ago, and now it's making the rounds again because Olivia Wilde is in two movies, kind of back to back. She's in the one she directed, and then she's in I'm pretty sure it's called I Want Your Sex. It's a Greg Ayoko movie. I could be mispronouncing his last name. And so both are, from what I understand, like sex heavy movies, right? And so she has a comment being like, I think we need to see more sex in movies. And I'm like, hard disagree. I don't think sex is the thing that's
More?
missing from our movies.
But
What do
does
you
she
think?
what does she mean? Like what I don't you're typing away. So I
Yeah,
know you're
okay.
you're looking for the
Variety.
exact
I'm looking
okay.
for the okay.
The exact
Uh,
quote. Okay.
yeah. Olivia Wilde says sex in movies hasn't been, quote, realistic for a, quote, long time. And Gen Z doesn't want to see inauthenticity anymore in sex scenes. Okay, so that quote makes a little bit more sense than
Right.
just saying like
Okay.
we need to
Okay.
see more. Um okay, Olivia Wilde says Gen Z wants to see less sex in movies. I would agree because they, quote, don't want to see inauthenticity anymore. According to a study from UCLA, nearly half of Gen Z, 48.4%, believe too much sex and sexual content in there is too much sex and sexual content. I would agree with them. Olivia says, I think Gen Z is pretty smart. The way that sex has been portrayed in film for a long time hasn't been particularly realistic. Therefore, there's been this movement now towards authenticity, which is really good. So I choose to interpret. I love that. She's like,
I
I didn't
choose
read.
to interpret.
I'm not reading the
It was
study.
it
I
was
choose.
going so well
I
until I
know.
choose to interpret. It was like, oh, you have like, oh, okay, this is different than I thought. She has me. Like,
Yeah,
yeah,
like
okay. And
okay,
then there
yeah.
you
She's
go.
just
I
saying,
choose
yeah.
to interpret.
It's
Yeah.
saying we don't want to see inauthenticity anymore. We want to see real relationships, and we want to have something that feels more genuine. So she's in a movie, anyways.
Yeah,
Okay, whatever.
the thing about Olivia Wilde is your first recollection of what she said is not far
That far
fetched.
off, yeah, it's not that far
Yeah,
off base.
so when you read it and you know are discovering, oh, this actually sounds better. There's always that, yeah, we'll just wait because it's going to keep going. Like what she's saying with Olivia Wilde, I do find was what she's saying at first. I'm like, yeah, absolutely, that makes total sense about what you're saying. This generation's smart. We should listen to them. Everything they're saying makes sense. I choose to interpret it as this. Oh, okay.
We don't need less sex. We just need more of it that's
That's right.
more realistic.
That's
And
right.
then
Those are two different points. And she could have a point. She could say that, like, well, maybe if people saw more realistic relationships between people, then they wouldn't be as sick of it, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, that could be true. It's just the I choose to interpret line does make it
I
seem
know,
like I know
completely
better than
derails. And she's like,
yeah,
this
yeah.
this new movie she is in, I Want Your Sex. It's like she's like, it's a playful, irrelevant take on the sexual revolution. I'm like, this doesn't seem like anything Gen Z wants.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting because as a director, yeah, I don't think
I
Don't
don't
Worry,
think we need
Darling
it.
was anything interesting. I don't think more sex would change that movie. Like that, I'm just using her movies as an example, right? If there was a bunch of people having sex in that movie, would that change the movie? No. It was still it was still like nonsensical with a terrible twist that just reminded me of like, oh, this could be a cool half-hour episode of the Twilight Zone, and that's it. Like it doesn't fit for a long movie. So yeah, she's definitely not exactly barking up the tree that I would say is going to
I
work.
I can kind of understand where she's coming from in the sense that, like, you know, a certain type of relationship or certain, you know,
Oh sure,
dynamics are portrayed in film, and
yeah.
so like I get that, but then for her to be like, I don't know, I just don't think her take, like you said, Mike, it's like you're like, oh, that makes a lot of sense, and then she's just like, oh, but it's almost like using an excuse to explain her artistic decisions. You know what I mean?
Making what you hear fit the narrative
Of
you
what you're doing.
yourself want. Yeah,
Yeah.
like you have a narrative you want to fit, or you have something you want to work on, and you're basically just making this study or these comments fit the narrative that you want to have. Yeah,
I'd
definitely.
also argue that as a famous person who's been famous since the 90s, or I should say the early 2000s, sorry.
Or 2000s,
She
yeah.
was the OC and House.
OC, and House. Yeah. Yeah, she's been
I
pretty
would
famous
say
since then.
you don't know what normal relationships are. Olivia, you don't get to
Oh,
you're not on this test
I agree. Like
for
I
normal relationships.
yeah, like her relationships, no matter what they are, they're not normal because you're not living the average person's life. And again, every culture is different. Everyone's economic situations are different. Even two cities in the same province in the same country can be a little different, with just the way people are and different traditions and different things that people do. I will say, I think one thing that's universal is being that well known and that famous means you're probably only dating really famous people. And you're living in this world, you're living in this bubble that is pretty different than certainly your audiences that are seeing your movies are. So I agree. It's not the typical relationship, that's for sure.
Sorry,
This
Olivia.
week, yeah,
I'm just, sorry. I came right back out the gate with a hot take, Mike. So sorry
that's
to you
fine.
too, but
That's all right. That brings in the crowd. You got to bring the crowd in with the hot takes. This week, our movies that we're reviewing. I watched Spider-Man: Brand New Day, which just opened a week ago, and you watched Minions and Monsters, another big summer release. Um,
delivering on what Gen Z wants. I'm assuming there was no sex in my movie, and I'm assuming no sex in yours.
there
So
wasn't any in mine either.
there you go.
So no, definitely not. Um, so yeah, I think we can kind of walk through our movies and review them. I will say one thing that they have in common, as we try to always find these commonalities, because Tyler Vance has completely ruined just talking about movies for me.
We can't find patterns, and
Yeah,
we
you
can't
just
help but find the patterns
yeah
now because of
yeah
Tyler.
yeah. It's absolutely ridiculous. Minions and Monsters, Spider-Man: Brand New Day. This is definitely, we're now beyond trilogies in
Franchise.
these. We're into a franchise. There's been at least a couple Minion movies, and then of course they're in the Despicable Me movies. So how many movies have there been featuring Minions? Five, six?
That's a good question. I think this is only the third Minions movie, Mike.
But
But
there's been Despicable Me ones, right?
yes, it's there's been four Despicable Me's and then
Something like
three
that, right? Yeah.
Minions.
So
So
seven movies that do heavily feature minions,
oh
just
yeah.
like Spider-Man. Just in the current iteration of Spider-Man, we've had four solo. This is the fourth solo Spider-Man movie, but he's been in at least two Avengers movies, and one Captain America movie. So seven. I think they both have featured seven of these particular Spider-Men and Minions. So, who wants to go first?
I can talk about
You
Minions
want
and
to?
Monsters.
Okay, dive into Minions and Monsters.
So this was one of the movies that I saw in real time during our little July hiatus, Mike. So Dan and I went to go to the theaters, and not a lot was playing. I think the Odyssey was playing. We bumped into people that we like know from church or whatever, and they're like, "Oh, like you come without George. What are you seeing?" And we are like, Minions and Monsters without George. And that couple, I had never thought about doing this, Mike. This like changed my whole world. The dad went by himself to see the Odyssey, and the mom and the daughter went to go see Minions and Monsters.
Oh wow.
Have you ever heard of something like that where a family or like a group of people go to the theater, but they're seeing separate movies?
No.
Bold. I
Yeah.
like it. I like that
I don't
movie.
even think. I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but I don't even think I've ever gone with a group of friends and we're all just traveling there together and seeing. Okay, now divide up and see our different movies. I don't even think I've done that.
And the Odyssey is probably twice the length of Minions and Monsters. So what did the daughter do when the movie was done? Just like play in the fun zone? I should ask more questions. But
Yeah,
anyways,
you should have gotten all the details here. We need to know.
yeah. So that was that was the option mid July. You either went to go see Minions and Monsters or the Odyssey. So it wasn't completely out of left field for us because Dan and I like the Despicable Me movies. I would say the first one's the best, and I don't mind. I don't really remember Despicable Me 2 but I did like Despicable Me 1. It's like the prequel to them trying to find Gru, essentially, or like
Right.
meet Gru. So I'm like, let's go. It looks cute, whatever. So it was a nice movie. It's definitely, a lot of the discourse online describes it as a love letter to Hollywood. 100%. This movie was made by people who love movies. Lots of different Easter eggs. So the basic premise is that I'm going to give you a little bit of Minions lore, Mike. I don't know
Okay.
how familiar you are with
I
the
think I
franchise.
saw the first Minions movie. I do
Okay.
think I did see that, and I've seen at least one Despicable Me movie. I don't think I've seen any others.
Okay. So the basic premise for people who don't know is that the Minions are these little yellow creatures. Creatures are the best way to describe it. And they've existed since the dawn of time. And since the dawn of time, they've been trying to find the worst boss to be a minion to. And like worst boss means like the most evil or diabolical person. And so we learn in in the bigger franchise, the minions find Gru essentially, and they're Gru's little minions. So in this this Minions movie, we learn that there's many tribes of minions. It's not
Oh,
just Gru's group of minions. There's other minions, and we are following a different tribe of minions, and they essentially make it to 1920s Hollywood.
okay.
And the premise of the movie is they arrive in Hollywood, and then they're going to make a monster movie like in the 1930s, because they like, you kind of see they experience the transition of silent movies to sound movies, but because they speak Minionese and not English, they're like, we don't know what to do with you. Like, you can't be in, essentially the premise of Singing in the Rain.
Okay.
And so they're going to redeem their career and make a monster movie.
Okay.
So for fans of movies, like movie history, how they make movies, like, this movie is very enjoyable for probably like the first half of the movie. It's a lot of fun, lots of Easter eggs, lots of like, you could watch it a couple times and keep seeing different references to early movie history. Really fun. And then when they start making the monster movie, it gets a little bit, the story almost takes like, there's like the two groups of minions like break off, and some are trying to make the movie, and then some have been like left behind. I can't quite remember why. And they're following a robot named, oh my goodness, let me see if I can find the name of the robot. Dort. And so some of the minions find Dort and think that he might be the new boss.
Okay.
And then some of the other minions have gone to make this movie. The Dort storyline, who interestingly voiced by Jesse Eisenberg.
Okay.
I didn't know he did a lot of voice acting.
No, I didn't know either.
The Dort storyline was quite good, but then them making the movie, and I don't think this actually doesn't give anything away because it's in the trailer. They essentially go find the monsters, like real monsters, to make the movie. And so when they're going to go look for the monsters, I felt like the story just like kind of like petered out, and I'm like, oh, I could have used a lot more Dort. And then the Dort storyline and the monster storyline converge, and that's like the climax of the movie. So, Dan and I thought this movie was fine. Like, we enjoy it. It's one of those movies where like you turn it on and you watch it and you're like, it's cute, it's fun. I will say that the Illumination Studio, I do love their animation, and like it is like very like it's like the texture, you can like feel the texture of the, so I really do like the animation from Illumination, the production house.
They do a great job with that.
Their biggest IP is the Despicable Me, but they've done other movies as well. So it looks great. And like I said, the first half of the movie, as a movie lover, loved it. So much fun. And then like you know, like getting to the climax was kind of like, and then like once the story was resolved, it picked up again. Yeah, so like it's interesting. We don't typically do this, Mike, but I was just curious as I was getting ready for today's episode, like literally like 2 minutes before we pressed record. I wanted to see what the reviews are. People are saying this is the best one in the franchise since the first Despicable Me movie.
Wow. I mean, that's my praise going back to the first Despicable Me movie.
Yes, because the first Despicable Me movie is great. Dan and I still quote that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like for me, this was a plot problem. It like the voice acting was great, character development. Well, there's all the characters, but the monsters were really good. Like it was just like this movie's called Minions and Monsters, and the monsters were the worst part of this movie. The character design wasn't great. The voice acting for them was like, eh. I wonder who was the voice of the little monster. Christoph Waltz plays the director that they meet. Trey Parker is Goomy. Oh, isn't he? Is Trey Parker?
Oh, that's South Park.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the South Park main creators. Yeah.
Yeah. So he plays like the lead like the lead monster, and it just like really didn't work for me. And so I'm really surprised that this is considered like the best installment since the first one. I think this movie is serviceable. I think that you could watch this with your kids, and I wouldn't watch this with George because George is a scaredy cat and isn't quite ready for monsters. I think this is rated G, so if you have a little bit more of a brave child, you could probably watch this with them.
Are the monsters a little more scary than funny? Like, do they lean into the monster fact a bit too much?
No, but like, so I forget what happened in the movie, and I thought, oh, George would be scared of that. George is just George does not like any action.
Okay.
So even like when we can talk about this maybe next episode, Mike, because I think we're running out of time. But what I did do over the break was we watched some of the Cars movies.
Okay.
Pixar Cars with Owen Wilson, and even like the first Cars movie opens with a race, and it's very loud, and there's a crash. And the first time George watched that, he was scared. We have to turn the volume down so it's like not loud. So like it's this. I think it was George is just very sensitive. He doesn't watch like a ton of media, so like everything is kind of new to him.
Right.
So that's why like George is gonna be 4 in November. So like he's still young enough that like new things and loud things in action can scare him. But I think other kids would be less sensitive. So needless to say, I think with a more, I don't want to say resilient, but like a child who's less sensitive, you could certainly watch this with the whole family. The kids would have fun. There's a couple like potty humor jokes that like kids love. And again, like if you're a big movie lover, you're going to love the first half of this movie. So for me, this is a stream it. Like it wasn't a bad movie. Right. You know what I mean? Like I just wish that it was so this is another interesting thing I read, Mike. It was again, this is taken out of context, but essentially Christopher Nolan was like, I'm fed up with amateur, I don't know if he used the word fed up, but he doesn't like quote unquote amateur movie reviewers who are like, just because you can identify the mechanism used doesn't mean the movie has failed. So essentially saying like, you know, oh, I could tell they used that type of camera and that camera took me out of the movie.
Right.
So, and then I was reading down the comments and someone was like, yeah, like I'm really sick of people who don't use movie conventions in their movie review. And because essentially they're now just reviewing the plot and they might as well be reading a book. So I realize now as I'm actively reviewing this movie, my biggest gripe is plot. They're like the person essentially said, review the movie you watched, not the movie you wished it was.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
But like sometimes the only thing that's wrong with the movie is the plot.
It's the plot. Yeah. So and no, you're right. Sometimes it is, and I as
story,
in general
narrative.
In general, in principle, I think I agree with the point of you should be reviewing what you actually saw, not what you think they were interpreting or what you
Or
think
should
they
be.
wanted, what should be there. Sometimes, though, I do agree. Sometimes it is that element that's missing. The plot didn't work for you. Everything else worked, but the plot didn't. And I do think sometimes it is that. And again, it's the type of thing where I'm not a big fan of absolute statements. And I think for even the Christopher Nolan comments, it's like, yeah, in general, I agree with what he's saying. Sometimes you use the mechanisms wrong, like when CGI is awful. Spend the extra money and make your CGI good, and it won't take us out of the movie. So I do think there's a point there as well. So I do get it.
So but again, like, it's so hard to say. I keep going because at the end of the day, it is like a storytelling medium.
Oh, absolutely. The story's important.
Yeah, the story is important.
That matters. I agree. The story matters a lot. And if you're sitting here watching a movie where like, oh, they did a lot of great things and it was really good, but I just didn't like the story, then yeah, it's not a see it. It's not a see it. It's a stream it, or it's a right. Like it definitely is
a portion of the story that like I wasn't like super into.
No.
And I will say too. So there's three monsters. The lead monster is cute. I like his character design. The other two monsters, like, I don't know, like, the character design wasn't good for me. You know what I mean?
Well, and that matters.
It does matter.
If it takes you out of the movie, yeah, and it's an animated movie. That's the medium, as they're saying. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So it's a stream it. I think it's a fun little summer movie for families, but I don't think it's the best one in the franchise.
Yeah. Speaking of best one in the franchise.
This was it for you?
Oh, I really thoroughly enjoyed myself at Spider-Man Brand New Day. As I said, this is the fourth in the Spider-Man movies, but for anyone who's watched the Spider-Man movies, it's actually kind of a first movie. The first three movies in this Spider-Man from Marvel have really been about setting up who we know as Spider-Man. Spider-Man is the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. And in this movie, he is Spider-Man really for the first time. He's been Spider-Man before. He's at a high school. He's basically living alone. Because of the events of the last movie, no one knows he's Spider-Man. And he's dealing with the psychological trauma of that and the physical trauma of going out every single night, fighting crime, and kind of what that does to your body and your mind. This is the first Spider-Man movie I've ever seen, including the Tobey Maguire ones, including the Andrew Garfield ones that are all good in different ways. This is the first one I've ever seen that reminded me of watching the television show as a kid, the cartoon. Remind me of the games they came out with on the PS5, PS4 that people were really excited about, these open world Spider-Man games. It reminded me of those, like straight out of the comic book. It was such a well done adventure movie as well as a comic book movie that had still enough like tangible depth to it that even though we were actually talking about this at work today, Taylor, the idea of you can tell universal appealing stories but still have depth and something like artistic to say. This movie has it. Like this movie has moments that are heartbreaking, moments that are funny and joyful. There's one scene in particular that I was like laughing hard as if it's like a comedy. It was so well done. It was so well put together. And it's still a fun adventure comic book movie. This is Tom Holland as Spider-Man. I think he's at his best when he is Spider-Man. I'm going to talk about Tom Holland in a little more of a negative light next week. But listen, he's a great Spider-Man. He's a great Peter Parker. The isolation that he has, you feel. His aunt is dead. His friends and family don't know who he is. He's completely alone. He's just Spider-Man. And him dealing with that is really well done. And I think this movie did a really great job of balancing the Marvel thing where they've just got to shoehorn other characters in. And it's like, remember this character and look this character? This movie really kept that. Yeah, this movie did a great job where every person in it kind of has a purpose. No one feels too shoehorned in. And one of the additions they made really added to this movie. So I don't know. I know, Taylor, you're not as connected things, but the TV shows, they did John Bernthal played the Punisher on the Daredevil TV show, and he got kind of his own show, and people love him as the Punisher. They're like, this is definitely a great choice for the Punisher. The Punisher is in this movie, and I've never seen a relationship so accurate to the comic books like this was. The two of them bantering back and forth, because they're essentially polar opposites. Spider-Man's all about webbing someone up and giving them to the police and working with the police and trying to help. Whereas John Barenthal's like, oh, there's a problem, let's shoot it, and then we'll sort it all out later.
The Batman.
That's right. That's the Batman versus Superman thing. I have never seen that relationship so well done. Their banter back and forth, the way they kind of work together, the way they bounce off each other, the way they're kind of like, yeah, we'll team up and we both got to do this, but we have completely different ways of solving this problem. It was excellent. Like, John Bernthal, excellent in the role. Tom Holland, excellent in the role. Zendaya was excellent. Everyone in this movie was great. Now, there's 2 or 3 things I can't talk about, Taylor, because it is spoiler, and the movie just came out last week. I can't talk about the plot of this movie because it's a spoiler. It's a massive spoiler as to what happens in this movie. But what I will say is the plot is great. The reveals are well done. Yeah.
Can I ask you how one actor did in the movie, not revealing their character?
Yes.
I actually don't.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know her character. Sadie
Sink.
How did she do?
Yeah, Sadie Sink was excellent.
I'm still out on her acting. I'm still
I like her.
Convinced.
Yeah, okay. I do like her.
Sorry to interrupt, Mike, but I saw a fabulous meme yesterday, and it's do you remember the clip of, it was for promotion for the last season of Stranger Things, and it's like Millie Bobby Brown and the guy who plays Mike, and they're all like crying while reading the scripts.
Oh, right.
And so the meme was like, when you realize your career is about to take off because you've been cast in a Marvel movie, and it's like shows Sadie Sink, and she's like kind of like smirking, and then and then it like pans over to Millie Bobby Brown and the kid who plays Mike just like sobbing because
just sobbing and crying.
It's like, when you realize you got to leave all your childhood friends behind.
Because you're going to be in a Marvel movie. Listen, I think she does a great job. She's well used in this movie. I cannot reveal anything about her character because it's connected to the plot, and the plot is a big spoiler. And I think
because you've read the comic books, or because what it sets up in the Marvel universe?
Both, actually. Yeah, both. Both what it sets up, both what the comic book is, both what this movie is. There's another actor who I can't mention that's in it. Now, they haven't done a Marvel thing before, but they've done some TV, and some people will know them because they've been on a couple popular shows. But again, even the mention of who that is and their role, it spoils too much. And I say this in a good way, like not in a way that isn't worth it in the end. Sometimes spoilers are just like, oh, come on, that wasn't worth it. Like, who cares? This is worth it. It's worth to go into this movie with what, like, I watched the first trailer for this, and then I stayed away from everything. And I'm glad I did, because every moment was just this delightful journey. I didn't know what was coming next. And this was one of the better Marvel movies I've seen recently. I think it's the best Spider-Man of the ones we've gotten yet. And not only is it a see it, I think there's a lot here, even if you're not a huge superhero fan and you have, kids that are friends that are. This is a really good, like, kind of gateway into it. It focuses on a lot of things that I think people can relate to.
Do you think Marvel's return to fine form with this one?
Well, I mean, this one, yeah. I mean, to a degree, this one certainly makes me excited for the next one, which hasn't always happened. They've got Doomsday coming up in December, and I have to say, is
that going to be an Avengers one, or what's?
Yeah, that'll be an Avengers one. Doctor Doom from the Fantastic Four is the main villain, and that'll be an Avengers movie because they'll set up him being kind of a big villain. He one of the more powerful
we're going to get
villains.
Another Tom Holland Spider-Man.
As far as I know, he's contractually obligated for some more. Where that goes, I mean, certainly, again, to me, this movie did feel like a first movie is what it felt like. It felt like the first movie of what could be a new trilogy. And I'll say I'd be happy about that. If this is the first movie of 3 more, I'm delighted to see the next couple. Because
Has there
this was
already
really
been
good.
3 Tom Holland ones?
Yeah, this is his 4th solo Spider-Man movie.
Wow.
Yeah. And again, I felt like the first 3 really set up for Spider-Man because he was in high school. A lot of people found out about who he was, and they did a really interesting thing in the last movie to explain why no one knows who he is now, and that's who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man's always been battled by his own secret identity being kind of a big issue. So, they did a great job, and this movie's a see it. It was really well done.
Cool.
So there you go. That's a see it for Spider-Man and a stream it for Minions and Monsters.
Before we wrap up, Mike, can I tell you about 2 movies that I'm really looking forward to?
Go ahead.
So I don't know if you've seen much promotion for these. The first one is Victorian Psycho.
I have not. No,
Okay.
I haven't heard anything about this one.
Maika Monroe. She was in the Longlegs movie and It Follows.
Okay.
So she's kind of a scream queen. It's based on a book by the same name, and I believe the author wrote the script, which I always think is interesting to see how that plays out. The little summary is in 1858, an eccentric young governess, played by Maika Monroe, arrives at a remote Gothic manor, and staff begin to inexplicably disappear. Why this movie looks like 100% up my alley, Gothic horror, an actress that I really like, moody, atmospheric. My one concern, Mike, I think I'm going to be a chicken and not end up watching this movie because it has some, it's supposed to be quite gory, quite graphic. What I've read about the movie is that the author of the book has like upped the ante in terms of the movie and taken like the controversial violence of her book and like made it even bigger for the movie. And I don't want to give anything away, but like you can Google for yourself what the controversy is, but there is some violence that I don't think I'll be comfortable with. So I don't know. I'm really excited about this one. I'm looking forward to it, but I think I might end up chickening out. Or I'll just like rent it and maybe like skip the scenes I don't like, which I've like never really done, but we'll see. We'll see how squeamish I am. And that is coming out September 25th. So it's kind of it'll be like the start to kind of
the horror season. Yeah.
And then the other movie that I'm really looking forward to, I think I'm definitely going to see this, is Wicker. This is a romantic fantasy comedy starring Olivia Colman as the fisherwoman, Peter Dinklage as the basket weaver, and Alexander Skarsgård as the wicker husband.
Oh, great cast.
And the synopsis of this is, when a basket maker constructs a wicker husband for a local fisherwoman, he proves more spectacular than she ever could imagine. His soulful spirit and unique prowess soon awaken something inside her, setting off a wave of jealousy, fascination, and upheaval that threatens the very fabric of her village.
I'm in. You got me. That cast alone was enough. But as soon as you got that description, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to that. That's great.
Sign me up. And it's under 2 hours. This movie was made for me. That movie's coming out October 23rd. So we're starting to see promotion for kind of spooky season.
Yep.
Now that we're in August. So I'm super excited. So anyways, I wanted to share that with you, Mike.
Yeah. That sounds great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to at least that one. I mean, that sounds really great.
Victorian Psycho doesn't really sound up your alley.
No, not really for me. No, but you'll tell me all about it. That's good. Well, thanks everybody for listening. Just a quick reminder: send in those fan questions. We're going to try to do a mailbag episode somewhere near the end of the month or at the beginning of September. So you can go to soul1arts.ca. That's SOLONEARTS.ca. Just go to the podcast tab, fill out the form fillable, and send us any questions you have or comments on movies that you've seen recently, and we'll include that in our mailbag episode.
Go see some movies.
Thank you for listening to You Had Me at Skip It, a Soul One Arts Inc. podcast. This podcast is produced by Mike Shepard and Austin Spinner Summer. is a project of Soul One Arts. To learn more about Soul One and all the great work that Soul One is doing in the arts community, especially in film, theater, and other performing arts, visit soul1arts.ca. You can contribute to this podcast by visiting soul1arts.ca and going to the podcast tab. You'll find all the information on You Have Me at Skip It and how you can get your questions read on air each week. Thank you again for listening.